The vision that we can evolve beyond our humanity by merging with machines is being funded by some pretty powerful folks. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. This is Breakpoint. One of the most repeated themes of science fiction movies is humans merging with or being replaced by machines. Entire movie franchises are built around these ideas, such as the Matrix movies or the Terminator movies. One of Star Trek's most iconic antagonists were the Borg, a blend of biological and technological elements that were pretty near invincible, and they would tell every species they encountered that resistance is futile. In movies, the merger of man and machine is sometimes a blessing and sometimes a curse. In real life, however, there's an entire movement committed to seeing this synthesis all the way to its logical and biological ends, which they promise will be terrific. It's called Transhumanism. Transhumanism is the subject of the most recent must-read two-part series by Dr. Glenn Sunshine at Breakpoint.org. There's a lot more in the articles than I can cover here, so I'll limit my discussion today to the transhumanist dream, or as I'd call it, a nightmare of merging humans and computers. Popularized by the 2005 book The Singularity is Near, futurist Ray Kurzweil predicts that advances in computing will eventually allow machines to match and then exceed the ability of our brains to process information. In a parallel development, technologies such as PET scans and MRIs will enable us to reverse engineer the human brain. While all this may sound like science fiction, Kurzweil insists that it's inevitably science fact. After all, as he put it, our brain is a complex hierarchy of complex systems, but it does not represent a level of complexity beyond what we're already capable of handling. As our computational power increases, the reverse engineering of the human brain will supposedly make it possible to upload a human brain into a computer. To oversimplify what is a very complicated prediction here, uploading our brains will result in neural implants that will augment our brains. Over time, this augmentation would come to blur the line between what's natural and what's synthetic until any distinction at all is meaningless. Now, of course, trusting in Kurzweil's scenario, especially that even if it is possible that it will also be good, well, that's every bit an act of faith as believing in the second coming, only without a resurrection. Underlying the transhumanist faith is a purely materialistic worldview. As Glenn Sunshine writes, materialism assumes that matter and energy are all that exist. Our minds are therefore a product of our brains, which are nothing more than highly complex computers. In such a world, it would only make sense that we could eventually create machines that can do everything that human brains can do, and maybe even better. And if, as materialism suggests, there's no essential difference between our brains and our computers, we should be able to create interfaces between our brain and the superintelligent computer network, allowing us immediate access to all the information on whatever it is that replaces the internet. Still, as Sunshine reminds us, this is quite an assumption. Not to mention is such a worldview forced to regard human consciousness, the awareness of ourselves and the world around us, as an illusion of sorts, because as physicist Adam Frank has written, it can't explain consciousness or even the nature of the matter in materialism. To put it in computer terms, for the materialist, there's no software. All there really is hardware. It's kind of like answering the question, what's a MacBook, by listing all the components such as the processor and storage drive, but completely ignoring an operating system. Go ahead, by the way, delete that operating system from your computer and see how well it works. Here's a hint, it won't. Though transhumanism should remain the stuff of science fiction, there's a lot of money right now being invested to make it science fact. Just this week, for instance, Microsoft invested about $1 billion in one of Elon Musk's transhumanist projects, which is just another reason for all of us to understand the worldview behind transhumanism before our resistance becomes futile. So come to Breakpoint.org to read Glenn Sunshine's two-part series. That's Breakpoint.org. I'm John Stonestreet.